YouTube, what's going on? As you can see, this is going to be a different episode because unfortunately Drew isn't able to make it due to some health concerns, and he just had to kind of step away for today. Everything is okay, and I hope they get a speedy recovery. I'm stepping in as a host. I'm not gonna do as good of a job as Drew usually does.
You'll do great. You'll
The
do
sh-
great.
the show shall go on, right? As the person off to my left, I guess you're right. That's Darian Pickett. How are you doing, Darian?
We're doing good. Unfortunately, missed yesterday. Was a crazy hectic weekend following into a crazy hectic Monday. So my energy was sapped, and I was like, "Hey, Drew, I can't." So he took the Lone Ranger move and did the show by himself yesterday. Uh, Hats off to him. Did a stellar job. But today feeling good, feeling better, and just ready to head into playoffs for fantasy football.
Yeah, I mean, couldn't said it. The Me myself, and I do apologize for the audience as well as Drew for not making it. Just had some family obligations, but he did, like you said, he did a stellar job doing it by himself. I think doing a podcast in general by yourself is really hard, but he knocked it out of the park. But I'm glad that you said fantasy playoffs because most leagues now, especially 10-man leagues, are in fantasy playoffs. Now, I am in
Mhm.
two leagues under the same commissioner. Shout out Tyler. That actually do instead of a 6-man playoff, they do 4-man playoffs. So it's the top four teams, and it's 15 weeks. So it still ends at the same time, but instead of it being 3 rounds, it's 2 rounds, and it's only two. Yeah, it's only the top four teams. So if you're in
Mhm.
fantasy playoffs, congratulations. If you're not, there's better luck next year. I'm just joking. But you said that you're in a couple of playoffs in your other leagues, right?
Yeah, so I'm in three leagues. In our main league, I just missed the mark.
Mm-hmm.
Did not make the playoffs. I came in at 5-9. But in my other two leagues, I am in the playoffs. Uh, in the other league, I'm the first seed, 11-3 on the year, and then uh, and then in my last one, the family league, I went, I think, 7-7 or 8-6, and the third seed. And I'm actually playing against my wife in that league for the first round of the playoffs. So pretty funny. Sucks that we're not going to both be in the finals, so we're guaranteed the cash prize. But
Mm,
nonetheless, should be a fun playoff.
yeah, it's gonna be a very hectic household this week. This is upcoming Sunday.
Oh
um,
yeah.
Yeah, no, and I'm actually in my leagues. I'm in four, and actually in all four of them, I am in the playoffs. So two of them, I'm in number one spot. Number one of them, I'm in second seed, and in that league, my cousin Jimmy is undefeated.
Oh really?
Yeah, it's insane. I've never experienced an undefeated team in my league ever. So it's kind of crazy. Um, so shout out Jimmy, that's insane. But in our league, I am fifth. Drew is sixth.
Hmm.
So this is gonna be a interesting time. Do you have four people that are in the playoffs? Do you have any advice?
Man, the grass is greener on the other side. That's my my thoughts right now. And being a dude that's not in the playoffs in our main league, but had a good rounding out on his other leagues. You got to just stay true to the folks that have gotten you points so far, guys that are getting their targets, getting their snap share. Keep them in. Do not have too many boomer bust guys on your lineup because that's what they are. They're boom or bust. You don't want guys to put up 0 point weeks. This is the time to have guys who are routinely getting the ball and making plays. So stick to your guns, round out that roster, and start your guys.
Yeah, that literally was my advice. Like you got to the playoffs somehow, some way.
Mm-hmm.
Don't mix it up. Stay true to the players that really got you there, um, and you know hope for the best. Projections don't always mean everything as well. I know that was my fantasy advice a couple weeks ago. Ended up biting me in the butt because I went over. I tried overthinking it, and I'm like, oh, this person's going against a different match, like an easier team. Ended up giving me like 5 points, and the person I benched ended up giving me 20 points. So, um,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, so good luck in the fantasy playoffs. I hope everybody watching is wins the championship. Unless you're in our league, I hope I win the championship.
Yeah.
And yeah, so let's go
Where would you
on.
pick
Where would I
since we
pick?
do a travel league?
Yeah, I don't know really. I really don't. I really like the fact that we were on we like beachside essentially where we could just
Mm-hmm.
go jump on the lake and whatnot. I think that was fun. Um,
Dude, I'd go back to be honest.
go back to Coeur d'Alene.
Yeah, or like a
Yeah,
different different side of it. I don't know. It was just really, really nice.
yeah, and even the Airbnb that we were at was really nice.
Yeah.
I think where I would go, and this is where I would go last year. So I guess this is gonna be my since I didn't win last year. I would probably go to like Reno or Tahoe,
Reno,
Lake
Tahoe.
Tahoe, especially in the summertime where the water
Hmm.
is nice. Um, so I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Got to get to the chip first.
Yeah.
Let's talk about breaking news that actually just dropped today. Bill Belichick um, is finalizing a deal to become a new head football coach in at North Carolina. What are your thoughts on this? As people that don't know Bill Belichick or anything like that, he's probably one of, if not the best coach of all NFL history. So I feel like throughout the news, I definitely didn't think that he was going to go down to college, but would love to hear your thoughts.
Yeah. I mean, I like to what you just said. I didn't expect him to go to college level, but just with how everything is training in the NFL, he might have better stability. Um, Having a program that's going to trust into him. They've seen his resume before. Give him a long tenure to basically turn that program around. But also, when he was, I believe I saw a clip talking with Pat McAfee, and he was like, "Yeah, if I go into a college, I'm going to make it basically into a high functioning NFL style, but basically system to get these kids ready for the NFL up to that standard, but also to a professional standard. So if they don't make it into the league, they also can revert back to higher skills um, and just give them both pathways as opposed to just a boomer bust, ride or like go into the league or and basically see if I make it or not. So he's going to prepare these kids into young gentlemen that can actually have good lasting careers either in the NFL or in the regular, life like us, the
Yeah.
common folk. But no, I think it's really cool, especially going to North Carolina. Turning that program around in the ACC, make them competitive. It might draw a lot of transfers since we're going to be like full swing transfer portal going on. But I also see it turning into a QBU, and maybe a kind of a hot take, but I think he's going to funnel in a lot of good QB talent that'll have good standing careers uh, in the NFL.
Hmm. That's interesting. Yeah. No, I think that I really wanted him. I actually really like him in the media.
Mhm.
For and the fact that he couldn't get a head coaching job is insane. Um, so it's just one of those things where they, I don't know, something about college, and I'm kind of glad he's going into college, just because he is. There's nobody that really does.
What happened? Never just
Like there's no
disappeared
really
there. Sorry for
colleges
the
that
interruption, everybody.
actually.
We will. There we go.
Yeah, no, we got it. I think that's all right. I think
You
that's a little
share.
bit better. Yeah, yeah, I will share. Sorry. As I put myself on big screen, I tried to restart this to help Darian is lagging thing, but I guess it didn't work. But anyway, as I was saying, um, I feel like colleges nowadays they just want to win, 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 and they're not really trying to develop the players. You
Mhm.
see colleges take a lot of shotgun calls. College quarterbacks take a lot of shotgun snaps. Even when they're kneeing the ball, they sometimes take shotgun snaps. So it's like in the way that they transition into the NFL. That's why a lot of the first round quarterbacks are it takes them a while to essentially transition. But I think if Bill Belichick, who is the one arguably the best coach in NFL history, comes down to college and says these are the criteria to make it into the NFL to be a successful quarterback, you need to
Mhm.
hit all of these makers. I mean, all of these check marks in order to be considered to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. So the fact that he has that knowledge and all that type of that is amazing. Um,
Mhm.
and I think that's gonna, like you said, draw up a lot of quarterbacks as well as just in general defensive players. I mean, he's a great defensive mind and all that. I would rather have him be in the NFL, or honestly, I really wanted him just to be in media.
Mhm.
Even though he's not like the most personable, but just having that brain behind everything and dissecting every single game like he would behind the coaches in the team meetings or anything like that, I think
Mhm.
that would be really cool. So it is just going to be weird seeing him in a college atmosphere, recruiting and just doing all that type of stuff. Plus, he's
Mhm.
like I don't know, he's old, so it's like how many more
Yeah,
years does he
I think he's
have?
like 72.
Yeah, it's crazy. So,
He's
but
got at least 6 years, I'd say, with the program until he retires. But um, he could definitely probably turn around UNC by then.
oh, definitely. And what he can what I think his long term goal essentially is that he can essentially just pass the torch to his son too, and so then
Mhm.
his son can start seeing what it looks like to be a head coach, to be a GM, to what challenges actually are happening, and how his dad actually can handle that um,
Mhm.
situation firsthand. So I think that would also be cool too. Um, Other news. Um, so as you know, as you know firsthand, Debo is struggling at the moment. Is he struggling, or is he just not getting the ball enough?
Man, we've talked about Debo and what if in our trade away topics or trade for trade away topics, he's always been a candidate for trade away. Overall, I don't know if it's about him getting the ball enough. It's just that he's not being present while he's even on the field. Um, I think he is better when it comes to playing against teams that are running zone. When folks run man against him, he disappears. We've seen that time and time again. He's not great at separation. Um, but also, you got to think about it. This Niners team overall is riddled with injuries. He doesn't have Ayuk out there. I mean, he's got a decent replacement in Juwan Jennings. Um, who's been seeing a lot of the target share. Kittle's been hurt a couple of times. McCaffrey's out. Isaac Garendo is questionable. I think is Trent Williams still out?
Yeah.
He was out for a good period of time. Uh, they're just constantly hit with injuries. And with those injuries, you know, defenses will scheme to play against the best player. And air quotes, Debo could be the best player. Maybe it's just his matchups. Maybe he's just not getting open as he should be, as labeling a superstar to elite. And I put that in air quotes, as he's been a firepower for San Francisco for many years now. So I think it's the injuries. I think the injuries are taking a toll on that offense as a whole. They don't look good. They don't look like what they were last year or the year before that. They're not explosive. He's not explosive. So I think it's really just putting injury as the main cause.
Yeah, and I think injury has a portion of it. I mean, obviously losing Christian McCaffrey is ginormous
Mm-hmm.
in any team. And your wide receiver too, your quarterback is kind of banged up. Your tight end, like they're very very banged up. But I also think it's
Mm-hmm.
also falls on him as well. Um, I think that even last year, if you think about it, he didn't get that many. He was never like a 10 target type of player. He was never really like a 10 catches or anything like that. He probably would get like 4 and 5 on average, and then all of a sudden it would be a quick slant, and then he would just take it to the house. And then that's
Mm-hmm.
why so many people were criticizing Purdy because they were like, "Oh, you just dumped it to Debo. We made a couple people miss, and then he was off to the races." So now I feel like that also has something to do with it because you can't just do a slant anymore to him and he catches the ball and he gets tackled. He's not making other people miss because he was a big yards after the catch type of. He's a big yards after the catch type of wide receiver. So I think
Mm-hmm.
that also has to do with it. I think that he is getting the 4 or 5 catches that he usually gets. He's just not producing within that, and then that also means that your Purdy is going to have to go to the other options because if you're not making anybody miss, then why are we giving you the ball type of thing? So I think it's a little bit of
Yeah.
both. Um, but yeah, I think that it's going to be interesting next year, especially with the whole Purdy situation, Purdy contract and stuff like that. Are they going to release Debo in order to free up some cap space? Or are they going to try to keep the same roster and Purdy's going to take a pay cut? It's going to be this offseason is going to be very very interesting,
Mm-hmm.
to say the least. But we'll
No,
touch
I
on that
agree.
during the offseason.
Yeah,
um,
and I think like you mentioned, he's great against, or he's great at yards after catch. He's a yak receiver, and kind of in twofold of what I said, he does well against zone defenses or teams that scheme zone. He had a really good game against Minnesota earlier in the year, where he had 10 targets, caught 8 of them for 110 yards, so putting up 18 fantasy points. Um, Minnesota definitely schemes up a lot of zone defense. That being another big game. Seattle, typically they run man most often in the league, but looking at his targets and receptions, to your credit, Yak. He had only 3 catches on 5 targets, 102 yards, which I believe was a 78-yard touchdown that week, week 6 against Seattle. And so he got most of his yards via one reception. But then, if you look in the last stretch of games since week 11, 4 receptions, 7 targets, 22 yards, 6.1 fantasy points against Seattle, majority man defense. At Green Bay, 1 catch, 4 targets, 21 yards. He's going up against Jair Alexander. I believe they run man defense a lot. Buffalo, you could say the same thing there. 4 receptions, 5 targets, 20 yards, 4 fantasy points. And then Chicago, 2 receptions, 3 targets, 22 yards. So 5.5 fantasy points. We already know Chicago runs man defense. That's Jalen Johnson against him. And then Buffalo, I I forget who's the main cornerback for Buffalo. Is that oh my god, I forgot what his name is. But besides the point, man defense is Debo's crux. Hurts him.
Hmm. So do you think that the with Christian McCaffrey in when he is
Mm-hmm.
playing, do you think that defenses will play more zone or will they play more man? Because I feel like with Christian McCaffrey, just like any good running backs, they'll probably try to fill the box. They always have to have at least 8 men in the box, but then that means that the cornerbacks are on the island. So if they're on the island, would they go more man or would they go more zone?
I mean, I feel in that kind of scenario, you're looking at man majority of the time. If you're loading the box, you're just like, all right, you're on cornerback island. You'll probably have safety help, depending on like how what the receiver set is, or like if they're running 11 or 12 personnel. Uh, I would assume that they'd probably run man out of that more often than not.
Hmm,
But
interesting. Yeah, I don't know. It's gonna be interesting to see next year what the Niners do because I mean, they have to do something, or is this just the recipe to beat the Niners? I mean, that's what happened to the Eagles last year. They they played the Niners. Nick Bosa came out and said, "This is exactly what we did. We just rushed Jalen Hurts, and then the Eagles kind of choked and fell apart. So maybe this is
yeah,
just people are figuring out how to stop that Shanahan offense. Um, but yeah, that goes. Why don't we go to league winners? So we brought you guys wide receivers, the quarterback, um, wide receiver league winners, quarterback league winners, running back league winners, tight end league winners. Now we're going to talk about defenses. So, what defense do you think will help people win their league?
for me personally, I was looking at all the defenses and their schedules during the playoffs, and majority of the top defenses do not have very favorable matchups going forward. And one that kind of caught my eye, they're kind of middle of the pack in the season. They're ranked 17th according to ESPN. That is the Tennessee Titans defense. Now, before everyone starts beating me up, they have been pretty good throughout the season. Mind you, having like the best matchups where they have -4 points, but in most games against lower competition, which they're playing Indy and Jacksonville for the final 2 weeks of the playoffs, the fantasy playoffs, they already just put up 10 points against Jacksonville. And Indy earlier in the year, they had 4 points, not the best, but I think with just how Indy's offense isn't really at full strength, the Titans defense can be formidable going forward. This week, I would say maybe they're kind of a wash, but you're playing against Indy's defense that's ranked, or excuse me, Indy's offense, which is 20th in the league, and then Jacksonville, who's 23rd. So I think the Titans could be a sneaky defense for the last 2 weeks of the fantasy playoffs. But that's just me, in my opinion. I could be wrong. I also kind of like Green Bay, but I think the Titans could be a good deal for the final 2 weeks. But what about you?
Yeah, the only problem I really have with the Titans is that with a good defense, you need an offense that stays on the field, and I feel like the offense is really the Achilles heel. So like the offense, Will Levis throws a pick, so then the defense just turns right back around and goes on defense. I think that if once the offense gets better, then that defense is going to be one of the top defenses in the league, definitely.
I agree.
My league winner for defense is this defense is actually ranked ninth, and I actually had him, and I ended up trading you for Pittsburgh's defense. And if you have Pittsburgh's defense, but this Pittsburgh's defense, but this defense is on the waiver wire, I would 100%. I wouldn't drop actually, I probably would drop the Steelers defense because they're playing Philly, they're playing KC, and they're playing the Ravens. Top one of the best offenses, top three offenses almost in the league. So top five, I should say, not top three. But anyway, so I probably would even drop the Steelers if this defense is available. But I say the Philadelphia Eagles. I think that front four is really, really good. Their cornerbacks aren't the best, but I think that throughout throughout the year, I think that they're going to do well. They didn't play well against the Carolina Panthers, but they're playing Pittsburgh, which I think that's going to be a very, very defensive game. I think the score is going to be pretty low. They're playing the Commanders, and last time they played the Commanders, they had a pick, and then they had 3 sacks. So they had a total of 7 points, so that's not too bad. And then they had the Cowboys to end the fantasy season off. Last time they played the Cowboys, they scored 20 points. So I think, excuse me, I think the Philadelphia Eagles is a very underrated team, and underrated defense because of their offense is so powerful. But I think that would be a really good defense to kind of if you have a Pittsburgh defense or a Cincy defense or something like that.
I like that.
Speaking of waiver wires, I'm sure both of these players are on the waiver wires. And if you're in a league that has these two running backs, as everybody knows, J.K. Dobbins, who is the Chargers running back, went on IR. I think that was last week or the week before. So the backups are Gus Edwards and Kimani Vidal. Out of those two, who do you think you should pick up? Just be like, nah.
I just feel like there's so many content creators that have been on Vidal this entire year, and we haven't seen any justification in it. And I'm not going to be here and say that I wasn't on that train at least one point this year. I thought he was going to have his moment, breakout, but then I quickly changed my sales. I brought him down. I said, I'm off this. And, what has he done? What has he done to even have a projection of 8.6 fantasy points? Let's go look at his numbers right now. The most he ever did this year was against Denver, week 6. Mind you, his rushing stats was 4 for 11 yards, but he caught 2 passes for 40 yards and a touchdown. That's where he got his 13 points. But the next weeks following that, 2.9, 1.6, 0.7. Now into week 13, because he didn't play for 3 weeks, at Atlanta, 2 points. Kansas City, 3.4. Is that somebody I'm going to start? Is that somebody I even want on my bench? No, unless Gus Edwards, and God forbid he gets hurt, then I'm picking up Vidal. So my hat kind of teeters towards Gus Edwards. I think that's a more sure back that we've seen this year and in past. But is it a good option? No, he's not going to be in your starting lineup. So pick up Gus, not Vidal. That's my point.
Yeah, and I think you hit the nail on the head when you said I wouldn't even pick up either of them. I feel like unless you have an extra spot, but even if you're in a PPR, there's a couple wide receivers that I would rather pick up. Like Demario Douglas would be one that I would pick up rather than these two. But if I really had to choose, it probably would be Gus Edwards just because of the experience. The Chargers are on the verge of losing their playoff spot. So if
Hmm.
they, so this isn't the time to experiment. Oh, let's see if Vidal will do good. Let's see if Gus Edwards what he has. Like this isn't the experimental type of phase in the year. You do that in the beginning of the year when the games don't matter as much. But now you understand we have to win out or we have to win
Hmm.
two out of the five games or whatever the case may be to get the Chargers in the playoffs. And this is the time. This is not the time to kind of to experiment. So I would go for with a veteran back. I don't know what his contract is and stuff like that, but I'm sure that has a lot to do with it because if it's a 1 year deal, you want to squeeze that lemon, squeeze every drop of that lemon. And I know Vidal is like he's a rookie, right? Or two
Yeah, he
years,
is.
second year. So they still have a couple more years to kind of experiment, see what he's like in camp and stuff like that. So my hat would go towards Edwards, but my fantasy advice would be don't choose any of them. I would not pick up
Agreed.
either one. Um,
Agreed.
but speaking of bad play, let's go into the fantasy football busts of the year. Now, we're not going to talk about the Christian McCaffreys. We're not going to talk about anybody. We shouldn't talk about anybody in the first round because out of the 10 spots, I feel like five, if not six, were busts. Um, so let's talk about one. Who is your fantasy bust that is not in the first round?
Not in the first round. One name, it's it's glaring right at me. I see it. I see his face. It's Jaden Reed. I, just the words escape me to describe this man's year. Came out hot. I mean hot. We were all thinking, oh, it's Jaden like he was last year. Came out with 33 points against Philadelphia in a great game in Brazil. It was fantastic. We're all riding that high. We're like, this is perfect. Happy freaking days. He follows that up with 6.6, and then the next week, 11 points. And you're looking at it and you're like, why? Like, is he not getting the ball? He's getting 6 targets. It's like averaging all right. But he's had so many games this year where he's not getting anywhere close to double digit targets. The ball's being distributed across Romeo Dobbs, Watson, Tucker Craft, Dontavian Wicks, even the kid named Heath. Who knew who Heath was before 2 weeks ago? But he's hanging on by a thread to a top 20 finish. And that's because of 3 games, a 33 pointer, a 27 pointer, and then most recently, and 2 weeks ago, a basically a 20 pointer. But he's never seen more than 8 targets in a game. Hasn't had more than 7 receptions in a game. That's his peak this year. And then, damn, last week he got shut out. He blanked. He's a fraud. Jaden Reed had lower expectations last year, but he showed to come out, be an explosive player, and you had him in your starting lineup. You were happy. You had this man in as a lock in your lineup. And then this year, it's like, man, I'm scared. I don't know what you're going to do out there. Are you going to pop off and get 2 random touchdowns? No. You're getting zero ball, zero play, and you're hanging on by a thread on a top 20 finish. He's my fantasy bust of the year. I had higher expectations.
Yeah, what's funny about last game is that he went on to the St. Brown podcast, the one with Amon Ra and his brother, which it's kind of bad that I only know one of the brothers, but
Equanimous.
yeah, yeah, which is really cool that they're German. I think that's one of the coolest things ever. But saying that, oh, wait till I come to Green Bay. Wait till I come to Green Bay. Oh, I'm going to light you guys up. Blah, blah, blah. 0 points. And it wasn't even like it was a low scoring game or anything like that. Like, it was a pretty high scoring game. Like, and then he didn't even get it. Like, it's insane. Um, my fantasy bust of the year, and this player, I kept on going back and forth. There's so many that actually come to mind, but looking at their stats, it's not too bad. Um, like, um, well, one I actually was just about to do is Metcalf, because in the beginning of the season he did really really good, and then he started falling off and off and off and off because of the injury. Um, but this player, now granted his quarterback was hurt, so that has something to do with. But at the same time, like, come on, man, this is like, you're better than this. And this player went, I think, the third, fourth round, maybe most of the wide receiver twos and stuff. And it's Jalen Waddle. People had high expectations for, and me included because I drafted him. But it's just not. It was not good. Out of the 14 games that he's played, besides now he's on a hot streak because he's had a 28-point game, 11-point game, 20-point game. He's only cracked double digits the very, very first week. So the very first week he had 16 points, and then the next time that he got double digits was week 12. That's insane. And I don't know what it is because he's getting the targets. Against New England in week 5, he got 8 targets. Caught 4 for 46. Then he's been getting 4 or 5, sometimes 6. But, like, I get that your quarterback is gone, but he's, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't stop producing in general.
Mhm.
Like, what is happening? So, especially in a Mike McDaniel's offense, like, how can you not succeed in that? It's insane.
Mhm.
So that's my best of the year, and that's one player where I really really wish I did not draft. That was, yeah.
Yeah, my honorable mention, and this was a tough go for me because I have both of them on my team, and it's a gut punch when you pick somebody that's on your team. They underperformed,
Yeah.
and this guy, I think a lot of folks drafted in the second round, maybe even like fringe early third, and he's been the biggest disappointment by far. Travis Etienne, coming off a year where he
Ooh.
finished as RB3. I mean, he was, I guess, touchdown dependent. We found the answer. He wasn't explosive or as explosive this year than he was last year. Not as prevalent in the passing game, but to be picked in the second round, even ahead of players like Kyron Williams, Kenneth Walker, damn,
Yeah.
you missed the mark. Whoever, if you drafted Travis Etienne, he failed you.
Debo is also another bust. My
Mm-hmm.
another honorable mention. I mean, there's so many, but then there's so many, like, great players that could have been on the same team, like Derrick Henry and Saquon Barkley. That could have been your pick 1 and 2, and you would be in, you'd be in third in our league. So, um, or like Chase Brown. I mean, not Chase Brown. Jamar Chase, league winner right there. So, but unfortunately, not everybody can perform like them. But so those were our busts of the year. Now we're gonna go on to my favorite segment, and that is the against the spread.
We
So look
love
at that,
this.
Darian. You caught back up. You now, me and
We
you
in
are
this bitch,
tied.
baby.
This is a great time for Drew not to be here because now, since he's just killing us, he's not even close anymore. Um,
Battle for second
so
place.
it's a battle for second place. So, um, But let's go on with our Thursday night game, the Rams against the 49ers. The 49ers are favorites by 2.5. Who do you got?
Man, no. The Rams competed with the Bills, who were considered a juggernaut going this season. Looked great. They went toe to toe and they beat them 44-42. There was no defensive player in sight the entire game.
Oh,
That kind of firepower on that offense when you have Puka Nakua and Cooper Cup, Kyron Williams all firing on all cylinders. Yeah, they're going to win this, and they're going to, I think, win by 10. I think the Rams do.
yeah, I agree. I think that was probably the most impressive win of the year. I would have to say, and the Niners just don't look good at all. So I think the Rams are the fact that they're not favorited is pretty insane to me.
Yeah. Did you see it was the first time in NFL history that both teams had 40 points in a game with zero turnovers on either offense?
Yeah, that was insane. It was the first time a quarterback also ran and passed for 3 touchdowns and lost.
Mm-hmm.
It's insane. That's
Yeah.
one thing about this year. It's like there's a lot of high scoring games, but then they lose. Like the Bengals, for example. Like they're honestly the best offense in the NFL, but they are not going to the playoffs. It's been a wild year.
Mm-hmm.
Going on to the Chiefs and the Browns. The Chiefs are favored by 5.5. Who do you got?
You always bring that stat of when they're on the road with a spread of 5.5, they never hit it. I feel like this one is going to be a wide margin. I think they do cover. The Chiefs cover.
So I got another stat for you. The Chiefs have not covered in 7 straight games. So give me the
All
Browns.
right, move my shit over. Because I also saw that the Chiefs are on I think it was like 13 or a 14 game streak of only winning by one possession.
hmm I mean, I feel
Which,
like
I mean, this is the spread.
yeah, and I think that every single game that they've played has been a 1 point game. I don't think there was one blowout this whole entire year for the Chiefs. So
No.
I don't see it happening now. Um, it's yeah. Bengals and Titans. We just talked about the Titans defense, but the Bengals offense is best in the league in my opinion. Cincy is favored by 4.5. Who do you think covers?
Yeah, I like that offense way too much. They're clicking. And I think this is the game that the Titans defense shouldn't be in your lineups because Jamar Chase is going to cut it up.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think this is. I mean, there's a small chance, but I think that if any team can come back, I think it'd be the Bengals in order to go to the playoffs, and this is a must-win for the Bengals. So I think they blow the Titans out of the water. Commanders and Saints. Washington is favored by 7.5. Who do you got?
We do really well against bad teams, and I don't want to call the Saints a bad team. They have a good defense. They're well rounded, and mind you, they only put up 14 points against the Giants. The Giants' defense is not the best in the league. I would say the Commanders' defense is a little bit better, but I think the Commanders' run defense is going to get exposed if Kamara's playing. He's going to have a field day, and that's what's going to keep them close. So I have the Saints covering.
Oh,
I do believe the Commanders will win by a touchdown, but it would be just that of a spread of a touchdown, maybe 6 points.
not 2 touchdowns. I am gonna pick the Commanders. Like you said, I think they do really good against the Saints. I mean, against bad teams, and they're coming off a bye, so they're well rested and stuff. So I think that they're gonna come out firing at all cylinders and cover. Next game,
I like
Ravens and the Giants. Now, Lamar Jackson, after the loss last week, said that or the week before, said that he's really excited about this game. He just wants to play, and he's already looking forward to playing the Giants, and that was 2 weeks ago. So, um, their favorites by 14 and a half, which is huge.
that's
Who do
a
you got?
wide margin. I think that they do it. I think they could beat them by 21 points.
Yeah, no, I agree. Giants suck. Ravens have top five um, offenses in the league. If you're in playoffs and you're playing anybody from the Ravens, good luck. Cowboys and Panthers. Now, I think, and I need to go back. I should have gone back for this research, but I think this is the first time the Panthers have been favorites in a game, and they're playing against the Cowboys. America's team. America's team. Who do you got?
Crazy. Hey, last week I told y'all the Panthers would keep it close. What happened?
Mm-hmm.
And y'all didn't believe me. But I think right now the Panthers are playing some good ball. I think they cover this. I think they beat the Cowboys too. So
So the other team that's been playing pretty well, I think, is the Cowboys, and I think that the Cowboys they're fiending for a win, and I think that if the Cowboys lose to the Panthers, all hell is gonna break loose. So I think that I think the Cowboys have a better team, even though they have Cooper Rush as a quarterback. So give me the Cowboys to cover. Um, and then we have the Jets and the Jags. Jets are favorites by 3.5. Who do you have?
I told you this last week, and y'all didn't listen to me. You laughed at me when I said Mac Jones gonna come into this offense and win 2 games. He's gonna keep that streak alive right here, and he's gonna beat the Jets. Give me the Jaguars.
So I think that the Jets are playing for pride. I think that the way that they played against the Dolphins, Mac Jones is no Tua, and the Jags are no Dolphins, and they brought him down to overtime. So I think that the Jets come out and win by a touchdown.
All
Speaking of
right.
the Dolphins and the Texans, this is going to be a very interesting game because I think the Dolphins need this to keep in the playoff run. So, who do you have? Dolphins or Texans? Texans are favorites by 2.5.
Yeah, I like the Texans in this one. I think with their offense fully armed to the teeth, well, besides Stephon Diggs being out, I mean, you have Nico back. Mixon's been playing out of his mind. I think they just have the better overall team. But I do expect Johnu Smith to have a good game.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I'm super nervous about this game because I am playing Joe Mixon first round of playoffs. And I think he's gonna come out and fire at all cylinders as well. Texans just came off a bye, which I think is really
Mhm.
beneficial. So give me the Texans to cover. Colts and Broncos. Broncos need this to stay in the playoff wild card. Colts are just struggling along. AR looks better after the bench, but is it enough to cover for the Broncos? Even though it's 4.5.
Nah, I just like big horse better than a little colt. So give me the Broncos.
Yeah, it's the battle of the horses. I like that. I didn't even
Mhm.
notice that. That's funny.
Give
Um,
me the big horse.
yeah, no, I think the Broncos are a better team, better offense, better quarterback, just better. Game of the week. Bills at the Lions. The Lions are favorited by 1.5. Who do you think covers or slash wins
Mm,
in Detroit too? So it's
I
probably
just,
why they're favorited.
yeah, I feel as if this is going to be another like Rams Bills game. Defenses aren't going to exist. Both defenses against the pass haven't really been the best this year. You could maybe argue the Bills have been pretty decent, but the Lions they give up a ton, especially in the slot. I think it's going to be another fantastic game, but I have the Bills covering. I think they get a win against the best team in the league.
Yeah, I think that the Lions are just too banged up, honestly. And I hope you're right because I have Jameer Gibbs and St. Brown, so I hope it is a what is it called, a shootout. But I think that the Bills will come out and end up winning. Um, yeah. Oops. Of course. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Okay. Now we have the Battle of Pennsylvania. We have the Steelers, who is honestly, have you been able to watch Hard Knocks?
I haven't yet. I need to.
Bro, it's good. It's
It's good.
good. But the Steelers are, because we're the only team that has been winning the past couple weeks, so we're literally like the stars of the show right now.
We
Um,
love them.
but is this the week where we lose for the first time on Hard Knocks? The Eagles are favorites by 5.5.
No, the Eagles struggle to pass the ball. A hot take I have that if you look at the stats, Jalen Hurts is a fraud. He can't pass the damn ball. He looks bad. All he can do is run from the 1 yard in. Inflated stats. Steelers are going to lock that shit up. AJ Brown, he's going to be locked up, unfortunately. Got him on my team. But that Steelers defense, they're going to come to play. And they're going to cover. And they're going to win this game.
Have you seen and now that should have been the news, but I don't know too much about it, the whole feud behind AJ Brown and Jalen Hurts, where AJ Brown came up to the media and said something about our passing game and all that type of stuff, and then it all of a sudden became like a huge thing. I feel like the Eagles are the only team in the NFL who has been winning, but has so much drama behind them winning. Like they're winning games, but people are critiquing them and people are calling for their coach, saying, there's stuff in the locker room. Like all of this drama that the Eagles are facing happens to losing teams. Like if you just looked at the news headlines, you would think that their record is like 4-10 or something like that. But
Mm-hmm.
it's not. They're the second best team in the NFC. So it's insane. What's your opinion on that though? On the whole AJ Brown thing?
I mean, he's got a point. Dude can't pass for shit. I think he's. Let me look at Jalen Hurts' stats. Because
11 and
honestly,
2. The Eagles are 11-2.
and then
That's
the
insane.
Steelers are 10-3.
10-3.
Gee, so Jalen Hurts, guess how many passing yards he has, especially being at week 15. What would be your guess? And this is him being a ranked QB4.
He would have to be over 1,000. I'm assuming.
Well, yeah, he's definitely over 1,000. But
I
if
was gonna
you're
say. I thought you were gonna say some wild number.
if you're
Less than
considered
fifteen
an
hundred. I
elite
would say like
QB
12, 1,300.
for passing,
Yeah. No, my way off.
I mean, for an elite passer, you're looking at 3,800 to 4,500
True, true. I'm tripping.
to end the season.
Um, I would say 2,500 for an elite passer. No, yeah, I would say for him because Saquon, I would say like 25, 26.
On the mark there, Nim. He's at 26 2,602 yards. He's thrown for only 16 touchdowns.
Damn.
Like, that doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Like,
100%.
it's so bad. And
Yeah.
he's coming off years where he threw for 3,800, 3,700. These are bad numbers, especially for a top QB. But if you add in all his rushing touchdowns, the rushing yards, it inflates his fantasy scores. He's They're just not moving the ball through the air.
He's a great fantasy quarterback. He's not a great
Mhm.
NFL quarterback. And I think people even put him in the top five, and I don't agree. I don't think that he's in the top five at all. But back to the against the spread. The Steelers have a gauntlet coming up, and I've been saying this from mid-season or whatever. But this is like the heart of it. We have 3 games in 10 days because of Christmas. We're playing on Christmas, which Drew is actually going to. So if Drew, if you're watching, I
It's
hope you
thick.
really enjoy it. It's going to be the time of your life. But we're playing the Eagles in the 10 games. We're playing the Eagles, the Chiefs, and the Ravens. People are putting all 3 of those teams in the top 5 best teams in the NFL. So this is going to be the start of the gauntlet. Mike Tomlin's going to have these guys buzzing. And out of these 3 games, this is the one that I am the least worried about. Granted, I'm worried about all 3 of them, but I think this is the game that I'm least worried about. Just because, like you said, like you stop Saquon, you stop the Eagles. I don't think that the Eagles, if you have Jalen Hurts try to beat you using his arm, I don't think that they're going to win that game. And I think that the more teams realize that, and I think that's what happened with the Panthers last week. They tried stopping Saquon, and and I don't know, they didn't because it's Saquon, but I think he still got like over 100 yards and some ridiculous stat like that. But yeah. So obviously give me the Steelers, but it's gonna be a very very interesting game. I think the Steelers haven't beat the Eagles in Philadelphia since like the 60s.
Jeez.
Yeah. Moving on, the Patriots and the Cardinals in Arizona. The Cardinals are favorites by 6.5.
Oop, I lost my place because I went to Jalen Hurts' stats.
Oh,
Show how he's a fraud. No, I got the Cardinals in this one. I just think they're gonna turn it on. That offense, they click and then they sputter out, but they click the next week after. So I like the Cardinals. I think they cover that.
yeah, I think the Cardinals cover. I think this is still the Pats just need so much work to go, within the whole organization and the whole team that and the Cardinals are still making that playoff push. So
Mhm.
Bucks at the Chargers. Chargers are favorites by 3.5. Who do you have?
I have the Chargers winning, but it's going to be a 1-score game. They win by 3, so I have the Bucks covering.
Yeah, I think that the Chargers. This might be my hot take. I don't think the Chargers are gonna make. I think it was actually my hot take a couple weeks ago, where the Chargers aren't gonna make the playoffs. I think without J.K., which you have a running team, a running offense that fixates on your running game, and then you lose your number 1 running back, and then your backups aren't really anything, as we talked about earlier. That's not a good recipe. So I honestly won't be surprised if the Bengals or the Dolphins come and snipe that position from the Chargers. And this is gonna be one of those games. So give me the Bucks to cover. Packers at the Seahawks. Now this I believe is Sunday night football, correct? I think that we have two Sunday night footballs. Am I?
Yeah, we have two Sunday nights, or no, two Mondays.
Oh, two Mondays. Okay, so the Bears and Vikings are on Monday.
Yeah,
Okay, okay. So Sunday night football, the Packers at the Seahawks. The Packers are favorites by 2.5. Who do you like?
I like the Packers. I saw a stat that I think they're 6-1 since um, the old Jets coach. I forget why his name
Sala.
is fleeting in my mind. Huh?
Sala.
Yeah, Sala. He's since he's come in, they've been like 6-1 or 7-1 or something of that matter. So that defense is turning it on. Something about that offense is looking decent with everyone else but Jaden Reed playing well. So mainly falling on the shoulders of Josh Jacobs, who's having a great year in that rushing attack. So I think Green Bay is going to just prove too much. I think they actually win this game by a touchdown.
Yeah, I agree. It would be very interesting in the backstory behind that because I'm sure some people like my mom just found out the other day where she didn't realize that Salah was in the Packers head coach. Who's the Packers head coach again?
Is it Matt LaFleur?
Yeah, Matt LaFleur. They were actually roommates in college. They were each other's best mans at each other's weddings. So then when Salah
Oh,
got fired, Matt LaFleur called him and said, "Hey, you can come to our practice, help our defense out." It would be very interesting if Salah is the defensive coordinator for the Packers next year. I think that would be really, really, really cool. Um, that being said, I like the Packers more than the Seahawks. The Seahawks need this win in order to keep um, running away with the division, but I don't think it's really against the Packers. Bears at the Vikings. This is another NFC North battle. The Vikings are favorites by 6.5. Who do you have?
I'm probably going to regret this, but I'm going to stick to my guns. I have the Chicago Bears covering this. The
Interesting.
Vikings have had some been pretty good all year. They've shattered what we thought they were going to be by a long shot. But I think just with this second game against the Bears and Vikings, I think the Bears might have their number on a couple of plays, and they eke out a minimal loss to the Vikings.
Field goal. Yeah, I feel like this a spread this late into the season with a division matchup like this always gets me nervous because this is the
Mm-hmm.
second time. This is the second time they played each other, or is this the
Correct.
first? Yeah. So whenever you play somebody twice, you don't really you kind of know what the opposing team is gonna do. You have all this film going back a couple years as if you have watched Hard Knocks, that's kind of what they show. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but 6.5 is a lot. But the Vikings offense the past couple weeks looks nice. They look so good. And the Bears just cannot. I don't know if it's Caleb Williams. I don't know if it's a coach. I don't know what's going on, but they need to get their crap together. So give me the Vikings. I think the Vikings come out and um, I mean both of these Monday night. Let's be honest, both of these Monday night games are crap. So, but last but
Agreed.
not least, speaking of crap games, this is what I was looking at the Falcons and the Raiders. Before you answer, why the hell are the Falcons and the Raiders playing on Monday Night Football? This, like, it's so mind boggling. Like, it's crazy looking at the schedule in the beginning of the year. I understand. All right, well, we thought the Raiders were going to do a little bit better and the Falcons were going to do a little bit better. I get it. But looking at this beginning of the schedule, the beginning of the year, looking at the schedule, you have the Battle of Pennsylvania, which you can market, and then you have the Bills and the Lions. Why are at least one of them, if I understand not having both, but why are not one of them on Monday night on a primetime game? Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. Like, what are these people doing? Anyway, Falcons and the Raiders. Falcons are favorites by 4.5.
I agree with the line. I think the Falcons cover, and yeah, to your point, there are so many other good games that I'd rather watch, even Sunday night and Monday night. Like I'd Monday night special would be the Steelers Eagles, and then Sunday night Bills Lions would go crazy. Like that's
Exactly.
what I would want. That's what I would want.
100%.
Maybe even throw in the Broncos Colts because it's kind of an odd game. I'd flex them into the late afternoon games, that
Yeah.
325 game. That would make me happy to have those three games in like back to back to back. I'd be like, yeah, that's a special weekend.
Exactly. And in the 1 o'clock games, you have the Bucks and the Chargers, so you already have a pretty good game going on in general. So it's not like you don't have. I mean, the morning slate. I mean, there's a lot of games, so it's a little bit more entertaining. But like these these afternoon games, like they're insane. Like I don't know which one I'm gonna have to watch Red Zone because I want to watch the Steelers and I want to watch the Bills. Like it's so crazy.
Mhm.
But that being said, I think that the Raiders are crop, and I think that they aren't tanking, but I don't think that they're gonna do. They're trying to win in order to draft Shador. So give me the Falcons to cover. So that's our against the spread. Hopefully, we have a lot of disagreements. So it's gonna be how many do we
Yeah,
have? We
we
have
do.
one, two, three, four, four. So we can go 2-2 and still be tied, but we'll see.
Hmm.
Um, but looking at the slate, what games are you most excited for, or what games kind of stand out to you? Um, if you want to elaborate, I mean, we've kind of talked about a couple, but
Honestly, I'd actually watch the Bucks Chargers. That should be a really good game. Baker against Herbert. Um, I'm not watching any Monday Night Football. I'm probably just gonna watch the highlights Tuesday morning. Um, I gotta watch the Steelers Eagles. That just seems like the best game to watch because I truly believe the Steelers are gonna steal this. No pun intended from the Eagles. And
yeah,
but
it's gonna be what I'm. There's two games I'm really interested in, and I kind of touched up on it. I think the Bills and the Lions, just because the everybody's talking about how the Lions are injured and all of this other type of stuff, and then they are talking about the Bills being one of the best teams. So it's really like a clash of titans where both
mm,
top. I think the Bills are the best teams in the AFC. I think that the Lions are the second best team in the NFC behind the Eagles. Actually, no. I think the Lions are the best team in the NFC. So this really is the Super Bowl that everybody wants to happen. So the fact that it's during a regular season game, I think that's super cool. So I'm excited to watch that game. And then obviously the Steelers, I'm excited to watch that game. One thing that's really impressed me with the Steelers, and I think that I've said this on the podcast, is that the Steelers are winning by playing complementary football. In the
mm,
aspect of if the defense isn't doing well, then the offense steps up. If the offense isn't doing well, then the defense steps up. Well, we're playing, you know, the best running back, if not the best player in the league right now. So we need our defense needs to step up. If not, then we have our offense needs to step up. So this is gonna be a true test because this is like the only time that we've really played a playoff team besides Baltimore. So it's gonna be interesting. But
hell yeah.
um, yeah, I mean it's we're the countdown has begun where we don't have where we're not gonna have football in what 2 3 months. So it's gonna be crazy. Um, but that concludes our episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Thank you for watching. Give us a like and a subscribe. Follow us on all social platforms: TikTok, Instagram. Um, uh, any last words? What are you doing anything exciting this weekend?
Oh, I don't even know. It's all been a blur. No, no, I should be. I think playing some D&D with the boys on Sunday. Still up in the air.
Oh,
We haven't met in a while, but uh, this campaign that we're in is like mad hard, and we're like only the beginning level. But it's so exciting because like we're taking like that notch a little higher and getting into character and actually like role playing. But
role
yeah,
play.
so
Do you guys do the voices and everything?
yeah, so I don't do a voice per
Yeah, I
se.
was just gonna say, there's no way you do the voicing. Open the dungeon. Like, oh my
No.
god, that's so funny.
So my character in this campaign is a he's like a 5'6" satyr. So I'm like a half goat, half human, and I'm a bard. So I just like will sing and basically write poems or like announce poems or whatever. But like in true bard fashion, like he's just aggressively horny.
Oh wow.
And yeah, so he one of our characters, so like my buddy, he plays a it's a mountain Goliath. So they're like mountain giants. And basically we were like exhausted, like exponentially due to this like forest. Like it was basically making us like super tired and more fatigued as we kept walking through it. So I had him pick me up and like I was riding on his back and I was just like overly like in whispering into his
And this is
ear
in the
like
game, right? That you guys are like elaborating. All right, I'm going on his back and to carry me because my foot's like you're not actually doing this in real life, right?
no no
Like
no
you're
it's
not
not like
getting on his back and then like whatever. Okay, okay.
no it's like you're playing it out like via your words, but like your dialogue is like person to person, like it's your character with that other character.
Mm.
And so him being like a hill giant or a mountain giant, his IQ isn't the highest and he doesn't talk like fluid English very well. But I was like whispering into his ear, I was like, I'm a little harder than the rocks are used to. And like, so it is
Oh my god,
hysterical.
man.
And like, he's just playing it off. He's like petting me because he's like, that's okay, buddy. Like, type shit.
Oh my
Like,
god.
like you just play off each other. Like, you say some
That's
dumb
cool.
shit. Yeah. And then you get into actual battles, which is really fun. And just see how everyone else thinks and thinks like their character.
And to get and I don't know too much of uh D&D. What does it stand for?
Dungeons and Dragons.
Dungeons and Dragons. Thank you. I don't know too much, so you're really the only person I've ever known that has played D&D, Dungeons and Dragons. But and there's like a master, right, that essentially creates a campaign and then kind of
Hmm.
like tells you guys and explains what's going on, and you guys are going through a forest. There's three doors. Like, have you seen The Big Bang Theory?
Yeah.
Is it kind of it's like that, right? Like they kind of that's when I think of Dungeons and Dragons. That's kind of where what I'm thinking.
Hmm. So like the DM will basically create the space, the world around you, introduce your characters into the world.
Oh, so
Um,
so he picks your character. So he's like
no, no, no.
during your. Oh,
So we create them, but what I mean by introducing us is like building out the world. You're creating a scene where, oh, like me as the satyr, I'm in a pub. I'm singing a song. Like people are throwing me coin and like cheering for me because they love me. They're all buying me drinks, this, that, and the third. But they're just he's describing you as what we wrote, and so everyone kind of has an understanding of what you look like, how you act,
mm,
or like are portrayed. But then like there's this moment where all of you were brought together. So in this case, like my scenario, I was out in a field with a girl, like just ready to go, like yeah. And we were talking and it was like
Damn.
but but basically this thick fog came out of nowhere and basically engulfed me and ripped away and I was gone. But that happened to every single character during their like or where they were in the world. And then we were all brought into this one forest, all kind of trying to figure out what happened, why are there other people we haven't seen before, and what the fuck are we supposed to do? So it's like introducing you all together in one area and basically like, okay, this is your group now. Figure out where to go, talk amongst yourselves, make decisions based on your decisions. This is the consequence. These are the actions that happen. Um, so it's all like based on what you do. There's repercussions, either good,
Interesting.
bad, or in between.
Yeah, that's interesting. So it's like that's really cool. And is there like a time, like you guys, let's say you guys meet up every Sunday, or you said that you haven't met up in a while. Then like, do you guys go like 2-3 hours, or you guys do it until the whole quest is done, or like,
Mhm.
is there like a specific time?
So you break them down into uh, like micro sessions in a sense. So we'll try to get in touch. Like wanted to do like twice a month, just so we can keep pace.
Mm-hmm.
But with this campaign, we're scheduled for like a year and a half worth of meetups.
Wow.
So we'll do like 2 to 3 hours. Sometimes we'll have like a mega session of like 5 to 6. So we'll have like an intermission break and then go back into it. But most often than not, we're doing like 2 to 3 hours.
Wow, that's cool. That's nice. Nice to,
Mhm.
especially like, it's a good way to kind of hang out with people like those people too, like your friends. I mean, um,
Mhm.
but cool. And if anybody listening has any other questions, because I pretty much like you said, you're the only person I know that actually plays D&D. So, and Big Bang Theory was the person that or the show that introduced it. So that was cool. Um, so if you have any questions, drop them in the comments. And we
Absolutely.
would definitely like to answer that. But for my weekend, I'm actually going to a Palestinian festival, so it's going to be
Ooh.
kind of cool. There's going to be like shops, Middle Eastern food, um, clothing, and stuff like that. So I'm excited for that. It's supposed to rain, so it's kind of on standby because if it's raining, I'm definitely not going. But
Mhm.
especially because it's outdoors. But yeah, so that's one thing that I'm kind of excited about in the weekend. Um,
That should be fun.
yeah, it should be. It's gonna be interesting though. Like especially everything going on. I don't know. It's different, but it's nice. You know, my family likes going to that sort of stuff. So just hanging out with family and whatnot. But any last words before we enjoy the rest of our week?
No, just excited for fantasy playoffs. Listen to what we said in the beginning of the episode. Stick to your guys. Don't do anything funny. Don't do anything stupid. Have those guys that you've trusted all season that have gotten you points, got you into this position, and win the damn chip, baby.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that following that, I hope everybody who is in the playoffs, I hope you guys win, and I hope you guys win the championship. We will see you next week. Goodbye.